My name is Brooklyn Rushton. I am the Strategic Adaptation Fellow with the Resilience Institute, which is a national charitable organization. And our roots actually started here in the Bow Valley, and now we kind of work across Canada in different communities. And it's really amazing to see everyone in the audience here. And we have some folks joining online as well. And to open today's event and ground us in place, I'm excited to invite Chief Ted Ruiter from the town of Canmore for just some opening remarks before we get started here.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. Great to see a nice turnout tonight. Thank you for making the time to come and allow us to give you a little bit of insight into what to do in regards to wildfire mitigation. Obviously, we're in Harvey Heights, so welcome to Harvey Heights. And on behalf of the town of Canmore and Canmore Fire, thanks again for coming. Also like to thank the Resilience Institute for organizing this session with the goal of creating wildfire resilient communities and ensuring we're all personally prepared. I'll do a land acknowledgement now. The town of Canmore acknowledges it resides on Treaty 7 territory, the traditional land of the Blackfoot Confederacy, the Tsuut'ina Nation, and the Stoney Nakoda Nation. We acknowledge all nations who live, work, and play and help us steward this land and honor and celebrate this territory. We commit to working to live in right relations and to advance truth and reconciliation. Thank you so much.
Amazing. Thanks, Chief Ruiter, for the warm welcome and for the opening for this evening's event. So this event is part of a broader commitment to fostering community-to-community learning that we do at the Resilience Institute. And really the purpose is to exchange practical lessons, lived experiences, and strategies amongst communities that are at different stages of building their resilience to a changing climate. And it's with deep gratitude to a local anonymous donor that we've been able to bring this event to Canmore. And so this evening, we'll begin with a screening of the tests. And I don't know if folks have watched it before, but it's a 1-hour documentary that tells an inspiring story of Logan Lake, British Columbia, which became the first community in Canada to achieve official Fire Smart status in 2013. And Logan Lake's story, I think, I've watched this film probably 4 times, I think. And it really shows what's possible when a whole community comes together around building resilience to wildfire. And so after the film, we'll move into a panel discussion with fire professionals from Canmore, Logan Lake, Jasper, and Hinton, who will share their experiences and insights on building resilience at a community level. But before we begin, I'll just share a few housekeeping notes. So the bar will remain open till 9 p.m. So if you'd like a beverage, feel free to pop back there. Washrooms are located if you go through the lobby, just on the right-hand side. And for those of us joining online, my colleague Cassidy will be sharing updates and instructions in the chat for you throughout the event. And I just want to thank everyone for being here. And with that, we'll begin a screening of the tests. And so this evening, we are very fortunate to be joined by this wonderful group of fire professionals from Logan Lake, from Jasper, from Hinton, and from Canmore for this panel discussion. And through this discussion, panelists will share their own experiences and lessons learned from their efforts to strengthen resilience within their own communities. And following the discussion, we'll open up the floor to question and answer period. And for those of you joining virtually, please note that you can submit your questions at any time through the Q&A function, and one of our team members is going to collect your questions and bring them forward at the end. And now I'm just going to run through and present and introduce our panelists. So I'll start with Chief Ted Ruiter, who serves as the fire chief for the town of Canmore. And with 36 years of experience in local government and the fire service across Ontario, British Columbia, and Alberta, he brings deep expertise in wildfire risk reduction and a lifelong commitment to community service. Ted is a graduate of the Ontario Fire College, has completed the Public Administration and Governance program at Ryerson University, holds an executive certificate in the local government from Dalhousie University, and earned the Executive Chief Fire Officer designation from the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs. It's a long list of things, Chief. And then right beside Chief Ruiter is Deputy Chief Michael Bourgon, is the Deputy Fire Chief of Prevention and Risk Reduction with Canmore Fire Rescue. With 2 decades of experience in fire and emergency services across Alberta and Manitoba, Michael brings a deep commitment to public safety and wildfire resilience. He served in key leadership roles, including Fire Chief, Director of Public Safety, and Director of Emergency Management. And throughout his career, Michael has championed a collaborative, community-first approach, working closely with residents, with partners, and agencies to advance fire smart practices and strengthen the Bow Valley Community Fire Guard. Michael is dedicated to empowering individuals and communities with the tools and knowledge they need to reduce risk and stay safe. And he believes that when communities are equipped and engaged, they become stronger, safer, and more resilient. And then beside Michael, we have Chief Doug Wilson, who is the fire chief of, and you probably saw him on the video. He's famous in there. He's the fire chief for the district of Logan Lake, British Columbia. And Doug began his fire service career in 1989 with the city of Langley as a paid on-call member, earning firefighter level 1 and 2 certifications. And after relocating to Logan Lake in 2015, which I was told when we first met that he was supposed to be retiring, but that's not the case anymore, he joined the Logan Lake Fire and Rescue and quickly rose to the ranks by being promoted to captain in 2018, an assistant fire chief in 2020, and fire chief later the same year. And then beside Chief Wilson, we have Chief Greg Van Tighem, who is the former fire chief and director of protective services for the Municipality of Jasper. With over 20 years of experience guiding fire smart fuel management and public education in Jasper, Greg is a recognized leader in wildfire preparedness. He holds a bachelor degree in emergency management with distinction and now serves as a contract trainer with Fire Smart Alberta, the Fire Smart coordinator for the Municipality of Jasper, and is a training officer with the Jasper Park Lodge Fire Department. And last but certainly not least is Chief Jim Smith, who serves as the fire chief for the town of town of Hinton, as a Canadian Armed Forces veteran with over 30 years of experience in fire service. Jim brings a wealth of experience in structural, industrial, and wildland firefighting, and he served as operations chief during the 2013 Southern Alberta floods and is a graduate of Dalhousie University and Lakeland College. So very grateful to each of you for being here tonight and for sharing your knowledge and experience with us. So just a round of applause for the panelists. And just to start off our discussion, I'll actually start with Chief Ruiter, and then we can pass it down the line there. I'd like to start with asking a question to all of the panelists here. What really motivated you to first start this work in wildfire preparedness and resilience building? And what continues to inspire you to work in this space and being committed to this work?
Okay, good evening again, everybody. For me, it's a little bit of a different story. I can honestly tell you I haven't been subject to a significant event like this gentleman to my left has, but that doesn't mean I'm not somewhat well versed in this. I left Ontario after 25 years in the service in more of a city center, so I wasn't really experienced in wildfire. I landed in Fernie, BC, and if you know where Fernie, BC is, it's surrounded by forests and it's a beautiful little mountain town. But I don't think a lot of people know that Fernie was wiped out twice by wildfire, 1904 and 1908. When I landed there in 2013, I was privileged enough to be able to work with a gentleman by the name of Alan Westhaver, who is one of the, I wouldn't say he's the inventor of Fire Smart, but he played a significant part, especially in Jasper, working with Greg. Al lived in my community and he approached me about getting involved in Fire Smart. I had no clue what that was at that point in time. And anyway, long story short, after about 5 years of hard work, we implemented a neighborhood recognition program in the community of Fernie. And before I left to go to another part of Canada to do some more work, we had 15 recognized Fire Smart communities. So it was a lot of hard work. In the early stages, it takes a lot of time and energy, but once it started to catch on and we had those community champions that felt strongly with what we were doing, we provided support. Our fire teams would go to these events, offer education, information, and participate a little bit. And then it was up to the neighborhood champion and the community to do the hard work. And once a year, they would do something like that and maintain their designation. So that was very inspiring for me to watch a community that was really involved in wanting to do good things. They didn't rely on our fire department specifically to do all the leg lifting and the heavy work, but at the end of the day, we supported and helped them achieve good results. And they continue to do these things long after I've left, and it's the right thing to do. So that's what keeps me going. Obviously, with climate change and the things we see now every single day, it doesn't matter where we are in the world, we're seeing these things happen. It's very important to be involved. And, you know, now that I'm in Canmore, obviously there's a significant threat here, and that's why we're all here tonight to talk about it. So it's empowering to see this many people here wanting to get that education. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We'll pass it over.
Thanks, Chief. First of all, I mean, I'm very honored to be on this panel with these incredible fire chiefs. I'm a little earlier on in my career, probably about halfway through, so really excited to be able to learn from these people, and really excited to be able to have this community around me. So I did come from northern Manitoba, is where I started my fire career. We had a lot of wildfires around us. Fortunately, we were able to suppress anything that came into the urban interface, so we didn't have anything that actually we were fortunate that it didn't threaten the city, but we did have a lot of communities that were affected by wildfire around us. So we made host to thousands and thousands and thousands of evacuees over the years. So that's really sort of where my passion for the wildfire and for emergency management started. Then I was able to come to Wheatland County for the past 5 years, and this posting in Canmore came up 6 months ago, and I just knew that this was the community for me. I knew that I was able to learn from an amazing fire chief who sort of piloted this not piloted but just trailblazed up in Fernie for a lot of years. So I'm really looking forward to the next several decades working with the community and helping each other out and creating these relationships and making sure that we become more resilient as a community and stronger as a community. So thank you for having me, and thank you all for coming.
Good evening. Started my career in a structural department down on the coast in '89. Moved to Logan Lake in 2015. Kind of worked under Chuck, you've seen in the film, when we first started in there, realizing that we were surrounded by the forest. And if we don't do something, nobody's going to do something. It's our responsibility to protect our own community. That's where I deeply got involved. Rolled up the ranks fairly quickly there, overtook the Fire Smart program, and today still continue with that. As Chuck said, we put 12 sprinklers on the first couple of years. I'm probably putting 80 to 100 on homes now. Well over half the community has been covered by the sprinkler. We continue to this day to hire the youth of our community to help us with the Fire Smart program. So yeah, it's working well for us. I've had 17 apply for 8 positions last year. So I've got no problem with the uptake on what we do, where the district couldn't fill the 8 spots between their campground and mowing lawns. I had no issues with filling it. So that's how I became involved in the Fire Smart.
Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you all for your support. I know a number of my friends and Jasperites are evacuated to Canmore, and some are still here, so thank you. I started out it was over 30 years ago as a volunteer firefighter, and then I was fortunate to be able to be appointed the full-time fire chief under Parks Canada, and that's where I met Al Westhaver first off. And we initiated the Fire Smart program in Jasper at a very early age of Fire Smart. It was probably one of the first communities to get involved. So I spent a number of years not only involved in the community education, but also with the field management and the major planning and that type of thing. Obviously, Jasper, a forested community, very vulnerable to wildfire, and we realized at an early time that we need to do something with the community in the community. And so basically I spent 23 years dedicating my commitment to that, and thought I retired, but I'm still doing it. So
Make me laugh. Good evening, everyone. Jim Smith. I started off in 1987 in the military, and we did wildland firefighting across the world. But getting to Hinton, there was not a lot done. we just basically started fire smarting in our community, and we've been working hard at revising some plans that were laid to rest about 2013, 14-ish. So we're trying to revive those plans, revive our fire guards, and the community really didn't really buy into Fire Smart totally at all until last year, about August. So now they're all on board, and so we're moving forward with that, and it's been good because we have a lot of uptake, but we just need to keep that going in our community, because it'll take a lot of people, folks like you, to do that in our community of 10,000 people. So and that's I see these gentlemen that are really doing well in their communities. I hope to be that well, hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years, hopefully sooner, but work is slow, grants are slow. We're getting there.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing that. And maybe we'll keep the microphone down with Chief Smith at the bottom there. I think you can tell by everyone's introductions that the folks in this panel are very passionate about the work that they do. And I think what I've learned too between Chief Wilson and Chief Ben Tighem is it's kind of hard to retire, it seems like, out of this field. My next question for you all is, and we will start down with Chief Smith at the bottom and then pass back to me, is when you think about wildfire, what does a resilient community look like to you? What does that mean? And is there an initiative or an approach your community has taken, or an approach that you've seen in your work throughout the decades you've worked in this space that has really been particularly effective to building that resilience?
That's a big question.
It could be an entire hour panel, I think, on that question.
I think with our community, especially Hinton, I've seen a lot of communities out when I've been doing wildfire. I've been doing structural protection in other communities, Hay River, Fort Smith, and Twistle. I can't remember all the rest of them I've been to, but when you look at a fire smart community, what does that look like? It could be anything from people taking care of their personal properties, people taking care of the spaces close to their personal property, people helping out with the town, helping out with the community, community groups having community barbecues for Fire Smart, and working as small parts of the community, small streets or small cul-de-sacs, working together as a group, trying to do their own little part of the community. So I see a lot of those things happening. There's grants out there for fire smarting your community or parts of your community. So all that stuff coupled together, I see some of it happening in the smaller communities. Some of them have starting in the larger communities. And even I understand that the city of Edmonton started actually doing it with some of their riverfront communities, some of their valley communities that they have in there with the Fire Smart grants. So those are available as well. So it's kind of cool.
I forgot the question. No, I'm just a resilient community, it means a lot of things, but it starts with you. And I can't stress that enough, because when the fire does come, and it will, it's your properties that create the disaster. So if your property burns, that's when you're concerned. If you get a wildfire outside of your community and never reaches town, it's just a wildfire, right? So it really starts with you and your own backyards, your own houses. And also there's 7 pillars to Fire Smart, and involves multiple groups of people, not just individuals, but all agencies, governments, corporations, businesses, you name it. Everybody has a role to play within those pillars. So the other thing, really, really important, is your community, your municipality, your town has to have the proper plans in place. They have to have the proper resources, the proper equipment, and they have to be familiar with those plans, and they must know how to use the equipment, and they have to have relationships with all those other levels of government. And that's something you really need before the fire comes. So it's collaboration, cooperation amongst the other agencies. It's your community being prepared, evacuation planning, wildfire plans, structural protection plans, all those things lead towards being a resilient community, and a number more, but I'm sure that they'll be covered in the next 3 people here.
The resilience, it's got to start with you guys. There's no doubt. I sit here, I front the face of my department, and my team trains, as all the members here train for it week in, week out. Your home purchase is probably your largest investment ever. So you folks have got to do your part and allow us to do the community part. Education is huge. I'm now going to the schools, you plug it into the kids, they take it home to you folks. We have done the barbecues with our grants. I have put trash bins out, rolled off the back of a truck into a neighborhood, allowed the residents to fill it up with their yard waste. Any of that fuel reduction that we can get rid of is significant to us. So it's just education, education. We're out at the market, the farmer's market. We plug our sprinkler, as you've seen in our movie here. That usually gets us into people's properties, and then we do a home assessment. We let everybody know where they're doing well and where they can improve. I've seen a home go to the ground over a $10 front door welcome mat. It's that simple. Some of them you have to get rid of. They may be looking pretty, but and you people with the door cams saw what we did. Some people weren't too impressed, but we didn't have time to take care of their doormat, fold it up nice and neatly. It had to go. Move on to the next place. So that's the way I see it from my point of view, from our community.
Yeah, I think resiliency really is sort of what you see in front of you today, and in the audience. It's everybody working together. At the end of the day, we could all, do a small part, but if there's a weak link in the chain, unfortunately, that could affect everybody. So we do talk a little bit more about community later, and what everybody can do, what you guys can do. But what we're really looking forward, and we can talk about the fire garden, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what we're really looking for in a resilient community is everybody doing their part. Everybody helping us, especially as the fire department. I mean, you guys saw in the video, they had 3 hours to evacuate, and the fire department was hauling pallets, hauling trees, hauling quads, hauling things like that. That's a lot of stuff that could be done, a year before, 2 years before, a month before, even when they knew the fire was coming. That's stuff that the residents can do on their own. And when residents do small stuff like that, it really does help us when it comes to the actual suppression efforts. So we're looking for that mitigation and the 3 Ps: preparation, preparation, preparation. So I'll pass it on to the chief.
I don't have a lot more to add, but what I will say is being proactive, not waiting for us to come and save you, if you will. And I mean that with respect. We're going to be stretched thin if the event happens here. So the reality is that the more you can prepare ahead of time, the better off we're all going to be. Identify those community champions and work with them. We're always here for support. Stop by the fire hall, spend some time with us. We can help. We can provide information and support. Lead by example, as the movie said. I think that's one of the most important things. Again, we're here for you, but at the same time, if something significant happens here, we're small local fire department with not a lot of resources. So we have to take ownership and make sure we're all working towards the same goal. And like the chief there from Logan Lake said, education is a big piece of it. And obviously that's why we're here tonight. So.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing all your perspectives on that. And I mean, as someone who went through the Jasper fire, I have immense appreciation and respect for the local fire department there and across all communities and the work that was done, but agree with that proactive piece, right? It's so important. Chief Wilson, I'm going to direct a question specifically at you. And so as we saw in the film, Logan Lake is recognized as a leader in community-based wildfire resilience, the first community in Canada to receive Fire Smart status. So from your perspective, what has made Logan Lake's approach so successful? And what advice would you give to other communities that are kind of beginning this work or maybe a little bit further behind in the process and their journey?
Got to remember that this was 18 years in the works before it hit our community. So this isn't going to happen overnight. You folks being here is where it starts. Work with your local fire department, get engaged with them, find out what you can do, see if you can get an assessment done. These things will help coming up to, we're not against people having furniture out on their deck. When the alert comes in, we just need it brought in. That sort of thing. That's where it got chucked off of decks and whatnot. When we come through, when we came through, we didn't have time to take inventory. It's just got to go. So it's got to start with you folks here, and you being here is a start on that alone. Yeah, kind of where I'm at with it.
Awesome. Thank you. Next question here, I'm hoping to start with Chief Ruiter, so if we can pass the microphone down. I know we've talked a little bit about, and I think Chief Van Tighem alluded to, all the different groups in a community, whether it's a municipality or a business or residents, and everyone has a role to play. So I'm curious if we can just talk a little bit more about that and elaborate on, what roles do residents play, different levels of government, businesses, local organizations, and why is it so important for that collaborative piece? I know we kind of alluded to that, but if we could dive deeper a little bit more into why that is so important and what role everyone does play.
That's a great question. So if we think about government, we think about our provincial body that provides us with a lot of this support and information. And our job as local government and municipal town centers is to make sure that we provide a level of service to our community. So what does that look like? Well, the reality is we need to be personally prepared. So that's ownership. So each one of you has an obligation to be personally prepared. And that can be as simple as removing the wood pile from against your house to the back corner of your lot. It can be as simple as having a backpack with a 72-hour preparedness kit in it. So when we tell you that it's time to evacuate, you're ready to go and we're not wasting valuable time. One of the challenges here in Canmore, as everybody knows, is we're a tourist destination, no different than Banff, and we will struggle with trying to manage our tourists at the same time. So we need to think about that stuff. So when we go online and look at our websites and our emergency plans and programs, look at evacuation routes and try and be ahead of the curve. Our job as fire services is obviously to have the equipment and have some basic training to allow us to assist the bigger bodies and entities to come here and do the work that's needed. We will do our best within our means to provide that, but that's all tax dollars, right? We can only spend so much money. Our community has other needs other than fire services, so we have to be smart about how we spend our money. Training is huge for us. We work with the wildfire services. We work with our mutual aid partners to understand what wildfire is, and we get better and better. But the reality is the climate change piece is not going away. So how are we ever going to stay ahead of that? One of the things we need to look into is when we look at development and developers and planning and such is to put those restrictions for fire smart properties into your development permits. So when they come to start building their properties and their communities, we're ahead of the curve already because all the materials that they've chosen for their houses are within the fire smart tolerances. So we're winning right away. Now we don't have to start to re-educate people because we're starting from day one. It's something I believe strongly in, and I think it's part of the answer. It's not the whole answer, and we'll touch on that later. The fire guard, as you know, it's been a hot topic, pardon the pun, but that's just part of the answer. There's a lot of other things that need to go along with that to make us successful.
One thing that Chief Ruiter didn't mention, he mentioned it earlier, is that he was successfully able to get 15 recognized neighborhoods and community champions in the town of Fernie. I think that is extremely important when it comes to what we're doing. The town of Canmore right now, we're on pace to do over 200 home assessments this year. That's taxing to our resources. When neighborhoods could get together, you could have up to 50 homes. One neighborhood assessment could take essentially 50 homes away from our resources. So what we're looking for is sort of that ripple effect. We've got 41 firefighters right now. I think in this room and on the panel alone is 80 people. So this room alone could do twice as much work as what our fire department can do, just to sort of put that into perspective. But as far as the community and as far as government, one thing I think we definitely need to mention is the community fire guard. So with the community fire guard, there's the MD of Bighorn, which we're in right now, Harvey Heights. There's the Kananaskis Improvement District that circles the fire guard. There's Alberta Parks. There's the town of Canmore. There is Parks Canada as well, where it borders. So the community fire guard that goes around the town of Canmore, it's a 3 to 5 year project. Hopefully we can get it done sooner than later, but it's also fully encompassing throughout the whole Bow Valley. So there's the full Bow Valley fire guard. There's fire guard that's strategically placed in Lake Louise. There's strategically placed fire guards on Protection Mountain around the town of Banff. We have Bow Valley Wildfire Interagency Committee. It's for mitigation. It's also for suppression. So it's us, the town of Banff, Lake Louise, Parks Canada, Alberta Parks, Kananaskis Improvement District, the Bow Valley, and Bighorn. We'll be hosting an open house on May the 10th, which all of you are welcome to join between 1 and 4, where we'll be showcasing some of our resources, what we can do, and also what we can't do. I think it's important to understand that you know, these disasters are big, and there's only so much that we can do as municipalities. We'll also have evacuation presentations there that day, which I think is important. Like the chief mentioned, preparation, preparedness, evacuation. It's so important that everybody realizes when that fire comes, it's time to go. It's too late at that point in time. It's the reality, but let's be realistic. It's what we do from now until that fire comes, not what happens when the fire gets here. So a little bit about what we can do together, some of the organizations that are involved, and yeah, I hope to see you guys all on May 10th.
Yeah, we've got many community within our community represented. You got to get to know your neighbors, work with your neighbors. Make a work bee day. Get out there. I know in my department, we will supply a lot of the equipment, including the dumpster that has to come out. My firefighters aren't afraid to come out and help as well. But there's only so much I can ask of them. They all have full-time jobs, besides doing what they do for me in the middle of the night. So it's got to be within you guys, but don't be afraid to reach out. I've taken a barbecue out, sat up on the trailer, out in the community on the street, put the bin down for them, these type of things. Again, you're restricted to the grant money that I can get. I go after it year after year, and we continue to educate and still mitigate around our community. It's an ongoing thing, and it will be an ongoing thing as the forestry grows. So yeah, it's just the education just keeps push on it, and get out with your neighbors and find out what's going on and what they're doing and how you can do your part. That's where I'm at with that.
Chief Wilson, before you pass the mic, I have one question for you on the, I know you've done a lot of work with the youth in your community. I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more about that. I know we saw a little bit about the Youth Fire Smart program. I know you do a lot of work with the schools, and I think involving youth, because they are our future, and they also generally have a lot of influence with their parents as well when they start to hear things at school. So I'm curious if you could speak a little bit more about that as well before you pass the mic.
So yeah, I get into the high school and the elementary school. I work with the elementary school doing a breakfast program where I cook breakfast for them on a Friday mornings. The kids aren't afraid to come and ask me questions. It moves up to the grant money allowed me to hire 8 students, high school students, 14 to 18. Some of those students are still with me as junior firefighters. Some have gone to be career firefighters. Some have gone on to be foresters. Some have gone to something completely different. But they learned through that program when we hire them, it's not just get out and cut a tree down. They go through a job interview, so they need to know how to conduct themselves. They are working out in the public, so they got to behave accordingly. Yeah, they do have some fun out there. We do have barbecues out there with them, but you've got to involve the youth in your community. I think the sooner the better. I'm also involved with, I've got 5 junior firefighters within my fire hall. They come out and practice like the rest of the team does on Wednesday nights. No, they do not go to calls. No, they do not get paid. They just get the experience and the camaraderie of working with a team within the department itself. Rachel, you've seen on the movie, she is one of my junior firefighters. And two of the boys they're now regular members that come out and help us. So I think it's important that you get the youth involved. I hired 8 students last year. I had 17 apply. I had no problem getting people. The uptake on my program to where the district hired 8 students for a grant they had for summer student. They only had hired 5. They couldn't seem to get any more than that. So I believe our program and the students have seen this movie several times, and they want to be a part of that program that's doing well for their community.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll just talk a little bit about the responsibilities at the different levels, and I'll use Jasper as an example. But I think it's a little blurry in my mind right now, but I think it was a Monday. I'm looking at Stu right now, was the evacuation day. Is that correct? Yeah. So Monday, there was actually 4 fires that were called in within about 10 minutes of each other. So obviously that's fairly remarkable. 3 of them for sure were lightning caused. One wasn't, we're not sure. It was north of town, and it was right beside the highway, but it was also underneath the power line. So I don't know that there's anybody's ever said exactly what caused that, but the 3 to the south became 1. So we talk about responsibilities and planning. Parks Canada has jurisdiction. Municipality of Jasper has a jurisdiction within the town site, the municipality, but we work together. So when those fires started, there was calls from the chief to the parks command, and then the decision was made right away. They were actioning all the fires, or trying to, not so much the south ones because they got too big too fast, but decision was made right away, and that's another one of the responsibilities. And they went to unified command with the town and the park. And when you do that, certain things fall into place and certain things have to be done. You have to involve the mayor and council, and of course all the incident management team. And it was decided to send out a alert, so evacuation, just to get people ready. And the idea was, get people thinking, because they've all been drilled. They all had the pamphlets. They've all been to the open houses. They all know what they need to do. That's their responsibility when there's an evacuation. Get your 72-hour kit, your car is full of gas, all those things that you hear about. And it was less than an hour later that it was actually in order. So there was not a lot of time after the alert. So a lot of people, all of a sudden, and then to compound that, there's only one way out. The highways to the south and to the northeast were both blocked because of the fire, so they had to go west. And that's all in our planning. And in fact, Jasper just had a major exercise 2 weeks before the fire, and they did involve all the agencies, all the government agencies, and they did plan it. And we've been doing it every year since I started, for sure. So been doing it every year for 30 years. So it's not something new. And so then once that happened, you got to get people out. Well, as you can imagine, 25,000 people leaving on one road, it's not going to be very fast. And in fact, that was one of the biggest criticisms. But in reality, well, yeah, I mean, what can you do? It's bumper to bumper to bumper to bumper. And you just hang in there. And people took them 5, 6, 8 hours just to get to Belmont. But that was the way. But everybody got out safely. And then at the same time that's happening, they're talking to the mayor and council again. They're also contacting the provincial government, so Alberta Emergency Management Agency. And that's when they start the wheels rolling on the bigger plan and the bigger picture. Start ordering resources. There was air resources ordered. They weren't able to use them. They tried. Being in the valley that we are, it was just too difficult, too dangerous for the large aircraft to fly. We did use helicopters, but the large aircraft didn't work out. But again, that's all part of that pre-planning, and it's part of that bigger picture stuff. It goes all the way up, in this case, to the premier and the prime minister, because they've all got emergency plans that involve every community under their jurisdictions too. So I'm starting to ramble here, so I'm going to pass the mic. But just the key message there is everybody has a responsibility. And as I said in the first go-round was you all have a responsibility too. And it's not just fire smarting your property. It's also understanding your evacuation plan and making sure that you and your families are safe.
Thank you. Hinton is learning from Jasper. We start doing our home assessment training as firefighters next week on the 10th of May, which you guys are having your open house. So we just started doing that. We started doing some fire smart stuff from the town. The town in their budget gave us $100,000 in the town budget that we didn't even ask for to put towards fire smart. We had grants from FRIA. We had grants from the province. We have grants from insurance companies to help us get started on this fire smart route. Last year during the Jasper fires, the military was in helping Jasper out, but they stayed in Hinton. So actually, while they were staying in Hinton and resting, we got them to do fire smart in Hinton for free. So it's kind of cool. So that's a good thing. But it's been a long process. It's only been 8-9 months. So we're still got a long way to go as a community. We still have a long way to go with our government partners, our both federal and municipal and provincial partners, as well as organizations that we deal with, such as FireSmart Alberta and Canada and other organizations we deal with. So we've started, we're just not there yet. So.
Awesome. You can keep the microphone down there as well. We have one final question here. And so I think we talked a lot about how everyone in the audience here and all of ourselves as residents have a huge role to play in building wildfire resilience in our communities. So I'm curious to go and get everyone's perspective. I know we've had some strategies and some ideas on what everyone can do, but if everyone could, every panelist could just go over, what are the tangible first steps that folks in the audience can take home that they can do in their own homes, in their own neighborhoods, and what programs, resources, or tools would you recommend they look to kind of get some inspiration and some good practices?
Another big question. Self-educate, talk to the fire smart folks, talk to your community folks, talk to your fire department, talk to your fire smart specialists, your wildfire specialists. There's so much out there that you can get a hold of to educate yourself on not just fire smart, but this whole wildfire disaster resiliency. All these things are so available on the internet now. It's so easy to get to. So just get out and educate yourselves and find the answers that you need to find. If you can't find it there, talk to those folks that are in your community, talk to the community members, talk to the provincial and federal members, and hopefully you can get the answer that you need. If not, all that is done, you can phone me at Hinton. Okay? My number is 911 if you can.
So when it was Wednesday now, when the fire did come, as the video we just watched indicated, and as some of you may know, some of you may not know, it wasn't the flames that came into Jasper. There was no flame impingement at all. Okay, we had a big fire, no doubt. It was moving, it was off the charts, but it was the embers. It was the sparks and the ember transport in front of that big fire that was lofted into the air and landed on things that would burn. Jasper has 5 recognized fire smart neighborhoods. One of them lost quite a few buildings. Another one, Fairmont, again, lost quite a few buildings. But fire smart worked. I'll guarantee it worked. There's numerous locations where I could walk around and show you where it worked and how it worked. And obviously there's other areas where it didn't or didn't matter, put it that way. The first few homes that were ignited, it was mostly decks and roofs that caught fire. And it was the things on the decks or around the house, the vegetation or the whatever was there that caught fire. And then once that got going, then it ended up being structure to structure in a lot of cases. So it was basically an urban conflagration. So that was the point where it overwhelmed the capacity of the responders. It was just, again, off the charts. And it's a real simple thing to think about, but it's not that easy to think, if I could just have a non-combustible house and a non-combustible property, it wouldn't burn, and that's true, it wouldn't burn. But you also have neighbors, which you need to be all on the same team. That's why Fire Smart Canada calls it a neighborhood recognition program, because you need everybody to take part and everybody to be involved. But we lost a subdivision in 4 hours that was a very dense construction and very combustible construction, and a lot of unfire smart properties. But we saved 2/3 of the town, or not we, or various fire departments and various things that were done by various people before the fire saved 2/3 of the town. So again, I'm putting it back on you that if you can make your properties non-combustible, then the outcome will be much better.
Again, I'm going to preach the education part of it. Go to the website, Fire Smart Alberta for you guys. They got lots of resources out there for you. Contact your chiefs right here, go down and sit with them, make an appointment, find out what you can do. Have them over to your property. They can take photographs of it, show you where you're doing well, show you where you can be improved. It's got to start with you. You go talk to your neighbor, so on and so on. That's the only way this is going to happen. These folks can only do so much within your community. Their resources, their hands are tied. It's got to start with you guys. That's your biggest investment, is your home. You need to work from your home out. Allow them to do the community, go after the government, get some funds to work in the parks, the crown land around your community. And they will do that if you do your side of it.
Yeah, just a quick story before I pass on to the chief. And we talked a little bit about the landscaping and how things have changed, and we've learned a lot more about, what's fire smart, what's not over the past 15 years. So you hear some things like, geez, that should have never been planted there. It's not fire smart. And you're right, it shouldn't have. But at the time it was allowed. We didn't know what we know today. And I'll go back even really short term. So I showed up in Canmore in October. And unfortunately, some of the landscaping at our new fire hall wasn't fire smart. Things change. We've learned things since then, right? So what did we do? With permission from the chief, with permission from the town of Canmore, myself, my family, the crews, we got some rakes, we got some shovels, and we took it out. It took us 2 days over Easter. We had a great time. We enjoyed it. We had some laughs, and it was worth it. So that's what we could do for the fire hall that didn't cost a dime in our backyard. And we enjoyed it. But I do want to pass it on to the chief and talk a little bit about that he can talk about some of the successes with the community, the neighborhood recognition program. So I think that's important. And I think, with the town of Canmore, like I said, that's something that we really want to get towards. And yeah, that's about it. We'll see you guys all afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you. So that was interesting. My first day at that beautiful new facility, as Michael stated earlier, and we looked at the vegetation and the landscaping. It's like there's something missing here. So needless to say, we've corrected that problem. But on that note, it's really important that we lead by example. We're the ones you're coming to for information and support, and we need to walk the walk. So the goal for us is to look at all our critical infrastructure and make sure we fire smart those properties and buildings. So one of the things that happened before I got here, I've only been here about 8 months now, but before I got here, they started the Fire Smart program, and we've been getting a lot of uptake for the individual home hazard assessment, which is amazing. Everybody's calling in, wanting appointments. We're sending our team over there to do these assessments. And that's awesome. And we want that to continue, but it is laborious, and it takes us away from some of our other priorities. Having said that, I think it's important to recognize that once that work is done and our folks have given you an assessment, and I'm not picking on anybody here, I'm just making a point. The reality is that document is got valuable information in it, and we need to make sure that you follow through. If you take that document and you sit it on your fridge or on your countertop and ignore it, that's not going to help us. So getting those small things done that are identified on that form is very important. And the hope is that everybody does that. But one of the things we hear all the time about those individual assessments is well, what happens if my neighbor doesn't want to comply with this? Maybe they don't agree with it. Maybe they don't want to do that work. What does that look like for my neighborhood or my community? So when I arrived in Canmore and realizing the successes I had in Fernie, it's like, okay, we need to change gears here because we can't sustain this. There's too many people that are going to ask for these assessments and we just can't keep up. So what we decided to do was try and adopt the neighborhood recognition program. So then we identify, let's say, for example, the Cougar Creek community, and we identify somebody there that might want to be a community champion. We work with that person to engage the entire community and ensure that those home hazard assessments are being done for every single property. So when the wildfire is coming through, heaven forbid, we know that your house won't burn, your neighbor's house is not going to burn, and so on and so forth, right? That's very important. If we have one here, one there, then we're not really doing what we need to do. We need the entire community to buy into it, to this work. So that's very important. One of the things that struck me in the video was some of the comments, and these are valid, real comments. It's like, I didn't think it would reach us. Think about that for a minute. It will reach us. It's just a matter of when and how big, I guess, right? It doesn't happen to us. So just a little side note, I came to Canmore from Vancouver Island, and I lived in a beautiful district just outside of Victoria called Souk. Well, we live in a rainforest. Do you think it was easy for me to spread the Fire Smart message in a rainforest? Well, we don't get wildfires. We're a rainforest. There's too much moisture and humidity here. Well, that is not true. So a lot of my efforts for the 2.5 years that I was there was to try and educate people. And back to what we've all said tonight, it's all about education, right? So when I left Souk, they had started a fairly robust Fire Smart program, and we were starting to see some success. Because yes, there's moisture, it's a different climate, it is a rainforest, but there's hundreds of thousands of years of deadfall on those forest floors. And they're dry because of what's going on with climate change. So we need to be real about this stuff and be proactive. So back to our program in Canmore, our goal is to change gears a little bit. We'll still offer the one-off assessments, I guess, if you will, but we really want to see neighborhoods get involved, have those work bees, and do that yearly work bee, get the work done, and start to get your entire community Fire Smart. That is a win for us, and we're here to help and support. We continually look for grant opportunities for funding. We've been very successful here. The money that we're getting as a community is huge. If you look at the cost of some of the work that Michael's doing with the fire guard and the vegetation management and all those pieces, it's very important. We have to advocate. We have to keep onto our provincial government, federal government, to be able to access those resources and that funding. So.
A quick question on that. So if anyone in the audience wants to become a community champion, how would they just reach out to the fire department and express interest?
Yeah, just give us a call. We're there 24/7. Reach out to us, and we're there to help. And we'll come there on those days and support you. We'll have a truck there. We'll have staff. And it's the right thing to do. It's not always the nicest thing to do, but like it was stated earlier, you get to know your neighbors, you get to have a barbecue and enjoy the day out there in the fresh air and achieve something good, because as everybody here has said, it's just a matter of time. Something will happen here. Heaven forbid.
Amazing. Well, thank you all so much for sharing all of your insights and your experience and your wisdom with all of us. And I hope everyone can join me for a round of applause for our panelists here.